We are live. You should be hearing me okay. I'm just getting my screen up here so I can see the chat. Yeah, you got a nice reflection of the ring light behind me. This is gonna be a good one. I can feel it. Yes, you do. Yeah, there's a couple grave diggers in this. So I'm sitting on the floor in the basement here. This is the this is the corner where my 3D printers are. They're just out of frame up here. That's what all these plugs go to. And you know, I wanted to do something a little different this week because I'm on at an earlier time, and that's because Pro Wrestling Grind is going live on IWTV at 8 p.m. tonight. We're going to be streaming Emerald Sword, our most recent event. I opened the show against A-Game Joseph Alexander, and I thought it was a great match. I had a good time, so we're going to try to stick to the times here. Going to try to be done with this and all wrapped at 8 o'clock. I got the computer here so I can keep an eye on that because don't want to upset the bosses. I got to travel with one of them to Japan in a couple months, so got to keep them happy. So what I wanted to do, yeah, I've had some really cool interactions with fans where they've given me some like awesome gifts, even like sending me stuff. And usually the way it works is I post a picture of my monster truck collection or a select part of the collection. It's hard to get them all into one picture at this point. And I'll get a response back that says, you know, hey, I noticed that you don't have this one or you don't have that one. I have it. Do you want it? And folks have been really kind and just sent me stuff. I've had stuff sent to me by, I won't drop any names because I didn't get permission, but I've had stuff given to me by drivers of certain monster trucks who have said, you know, oh, we still have some of those shirts that you wanted. So that's all been really cool. What I wanted to take a look at today is some retro monster truck toys and some fairly specific ones at that. Trying to see if I have any within reach. Well, I got a whole cabinet behind me here. You know, everyone kind of knows that I collect the I'm not gonna be able to get in those. Anyhow, I collect the Matchbox Superchargers series, and they had a very specific cartoony look to them. They were sort of the standard for the time. They were the only series, you know. Gotta see your collection in person. Oh, it's really something. I've got shelves of them up here, boxes of them in this thing. I've got shelves in my bedroom where I keep like the ones I really love, and then there's a couple boxes down the other end of the room here. And actually, now that I think about it, there's even a few toys of a different scale. I try to stick with the 1/64th scale, usually on display. But I have a couple, you know, 1/24th, some, you know, some various sizes like that are on a shelf in our home office. But what I wanted to look at was some of the sort of like off-brand toys from the same era as the Matchbox Superchargers. And for me, I always kind of referred to these as like the CVS monster trucks because that's where you got them. The main toy stores, the department stores, they all carried the Matchbox Superchargers. And when you would go to like CVS or whatever, that, you know, dinky little toy aisle, that's where you would find these. And I've been fortunate enough to be sent a bunch. I found some at flea markets, and some of them need repairs, and I've done some of that. So I'm gonna you know, kind of go over a bit of that now. The first one I want to start with, though, this is so cool. This was one I didn't think I'd ever have because it's pretty rare and it's hard to find. And to the untrained eye, and I'm gonna wait for my stream to catch up here so I can see how this looks about here. Yeah, you get a pretty good view of that. So this is a truck that is called Vanessa's. The joke there being Van Nessa, because it's a van. Now, a keen eye will notice it bears a striking resemblance to Rollin' Thunder, which was one of the flagship toys in the Matchbox Supercharger series, and one of the trucks that competed on Return of the Monster Trucks, the first ever televised side-by-side racing. But it's not. It's purple, for starters. Rollin' Thunder was orange. But and I don't know how well you'll see it, but the design on the side of this is very much just the Rollin' Thunder logo with a different name. This toy has an interesting backstory because there's no company associated with it. When you look all over it for markings and years, there's nothing. It's just cast to look the way it does. This was a toy that was made for a small chain of dollar stores in the US, and it was made in China by a company that you probably never would have heard of. Levi Shapiro in the chat. What's up, Levi? So this truck is one that I never thought I'd see. The thing that's really interesting about it is that, yes, it's kind of a knockoff of Rollin' Thunder, but it's actually a knockoff of Rollin' Thunder. The company Tamiya from Japan, who were one of the standard bearers in the 80s and 90s of RC technology, had an RC monster truck they sold called Vanessa's Lunchbox that was a dead ringer for Rollin' Thunder. And the company that made this in China saw that toy and made a tiny little roll-along version of it. And that's how this ended up being like it is. And it's such a weird, convoluted story. And now these are highly sought after, and they came in two colors. There was a purple one, which is what I managed to find. It was actually gifted to me by a fan. And they also made a yellow one, which is why the hubs are yellow on this. They only made them in one color, but the yellow matched the yellow version of the truck. So this bizarre, it's also interesting, they only made one mold of the tires. So on this side, the treads go the right way, and on these, they're backwards. They didn't bother making a second mold. But yeah, one of the least expensive, weirdest toys in my collection, and somehow to me, probably one of the coolest ones that I have. So continuing on from that, I wanted to look at some more of these, what I call CVS monster trucks. So there was a series, I believe these are the Road Champs, and I'm going to double check because it's always written on the top. Yeah, these are from Road Champs. And there's a few more of these of different styles, but I'm going to start with these two. These little convertibles, both of which I found at a flea market, and I'm gonna give you a nice up close while I talk here. Got these at a flea market for nothing. You know, this one I think was 50 cents. This one I got in a crate with maybe 40 other trucks for like $5. And it was because none of them had tires. They were just these little inner plastic hubs. And I told the guy, you know, you're not going to sell these without tires. Do you want me to just take them off your hands? Because he wanted significantly more for the crate. And I, you know, bought them, and then I came home, and of course I have 3D printers. So these tires that go on here are 3D printed replicas, and you know, it's very hard to tell the difference until you're up close. So I'm very happy with how that came out. You know, managed to rescue a toy that otherwise was probably destined for the trash can. So yeah, those the Road Champs were one that you saw a lot back then. All right, I've got these two, which I really like. These are so funky looking. These were in a box with a bunch of other toys that were sent by a fan. And yeah, this I believe, I'm gonna just double check here. Yeah, made in China, and there's no real company name for either, and no year listed. I do know that these were definitely in CVS's in the probably like early mid 90s, because that's when I was getting them there, probably 93 or so. But the funky colors, you know, purple tires, yellow tires, and they're just so cool. And I mean, if we're totally honest, van monster trucks are just so unique and cool. They look so big and chunky and heavy. So big fan of that. But yeah, these were another one. These were in a box from a fan, along with a few other pieces in the collection. But they're all essentially derivatives of that Matchbox Supercharger series. Oh, Kenny K in the chat. What's up, Kenny? Holy crap. Kenny K, for those who don't know, fantastic wrestler out of California. Wrestles at Hood Slam, UGWA, a number of other places. One of the most innovative, underappreciated wrestlers I can think of. Levi's in the chat too. I saw Levi, of course, bringing the old school to the new generation, you know, carrying over traditions and stuff you don't see wrestlers do. So psyched to have you guys on board here. All right, so this next series here, I'm gonna just take a quick glance. Okay, so these are also road champs, just like these, but these are from a different era. These actually do have a year on them. These are 1987, and I have a bunch of these, and they're all funky and weird looking. You got an off-road Jeep, a minivan. Got one of these, which really looks like it would fit with this series, but it's a road champs. Got another van. I love the look of this one with the big hub window. That's so cool. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, there was a couple doubles that someone sent me. There's a tow truck called Chain Gang. One's a little bit snapped, but I'm probably gonna 3D print a replacement tow arm for it. I've done that for a number of the toys where I've had replacement parts, roll bars, bumpers, even windshields that were missing. I would usually do those in a translucent resin print. So yeah, these are all really unique and very cool. And when I was a little kid, the thing I loved best about these was they roll so like freely. There's no wiggle in the axles, so they go really straight. And that that specific shape of the tire that's so square, it's really flat. So these things on a downhill really got flying. All right, and so the last piece I have, this is so cool because this is Road Champs. And yeah, it's just wild that this came to me. This is going to be a little hard to see because there's going to be some reflection on the packaging because I will open it eventually. I open all my toys. I like to let them breathe, and I don't really care what they're worth because I'm not ever going to sell them. But this is a Road Champs that was part of crossover promotion with Hershey's. And so it is a Hershey's themed, you know, I would call it an SUV of sorts. Still in the package. I love on the back there's a coupon, 50 cents off of some Hershey's chocolate syrup. You know, that's a great deal. So yeah, pretty cool little piece of the collection there. So I'm gonna scoot all these guys over because we got more to go through here. It's gonna be a long stream. We're 12 minutes in. I'm going to remind you again, anyone who's watching right now, 8 o'clock IWTV tonight, Pro Wrestling Grind Emerald Sword. I am in the opening contest against A-Game Joseph Alexander, so you won't want to tune in late. You'll want to catch Perry Von Vicious right from the beginning. All right, let's get to those All right. Anyone who's in the chat, I'm going to ask. I got something real unique and cool. Do I save it till the end? Or do I do it now? I'll let you sound off in the chat while I read some comments I hadn't seen. Because at my dad's house, a bunch of old Monster Jam trucks with broken wheels and stuff. Oh, I'll take them. I'll take them because if you've got spare, broken, busted up toys, I can fix them up. Let's see, Monster Jam diecast out there, the movie Robots. That I've heard about that. It's not. Oh, Levi won't last the whole stream. Levi, is that because you're just so anxious and you want to see it, or is that because you're going to bail on me? Which is it, Levi? Don't you lie to me. All right, of the 3 votes that are in, 2 say to show it now, so this is not a toy like the rest of these. This was a gift from the Monster Truck Nerd, or at Dave's Wrestling Adventures. Super fan out here. He is a huge Monster Truck fan and wrestling fan. We see him at Wrestling Open. He comes to grind. We saw last weekend he was at Wrestling Open at the hot dog eating contest in Worcester. Had to leave early, got overheated in the hot dog suit. I appreciate his commitment to the bit, though. At the last Pro Wrestling Grind, he brought this gift for me, and this is really something else. It's heavy as hell, too. This is can any of you guess what this is in the chat? I want to see if anyone can guess what this is, to get them and send them to you. That's right, Alan nailed it. So this is a piston from the engine of Gravedigger. This is something that Dave picked up down at Digger's Dungeon in North Carolina. South Carolina? North Carolina. It's North Carolina, right? Right? Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. That's right. Yeah. North Carolina. And brought this to me at Pro Wrestling Grind. And you can imagine the looks on the faces of people at the merch table when he presented this to me, because none of them knew what it was. They just knew he handed me a huge chunk of machine metal, and suddenly me and Rip Bison were jumping to take a picture with him. He also gifted to Rip Bison a piece of fiberglass from Maximum Destruction that's signed by Tom Mintz. That resides proudly displayed in the dungeon at Rip's house. In a future episode, I am going to be doing some 3D modeling work. I'm going to 3D design a display stand for this so that I can properly have it out and about. For right now, it's been living in a Tupperware where it can't get hurt. Not that I imagine I could do a whole lot to hurt this thing. It is solid, chunky steel. This thing means serious business. And to think this is, you know, on a V8, this is going to be one of 8 pistons that machine just throws at incredibly high RPMs. So wild to think about. I'm actually just going to put it right here, where I think it's just out of view enough that I can show a few more toys here. But yeah, super cool that I got that. Shout out to Dave the Monster Truck Nerd. You can find him on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. If you search Monster Truck Nerd or Dave's Wrestling Adventures, where he catalogs every wrestler he's seen within a given year. I believe he's in the 200s right now for different performers he's seen live already this year, which is just crazy. A super dedicated fan. All right, so these next toys have a pretty unique feature about them that I really dig, and it's the tires. The tires on these are different from all the rest of these. All the rest of these are, you know, sort of medium hard plastic composites, but these tires are legit rubber. Like if I can peel one of these, yeah, you can see it's actually rubber, which is really crazy. You know, that's not an easy material to cast. It's expensive. So they were putting some money into these, and you can also tell the entire truck, chassis, everything, it's not plastic. It is die-cast metal. The only plastic on the whole piece are the little hubs inside these tires. These toys are from a company called Majorette, and they were manufactured in France. Manufactured all the way in France from high quality materials and then shipped to the CVS's of America in the late 80s. And I'm gonna actually get you a year on these. Let's see. This is 1988. So 1988, France was churning out these high quality toys and shipping them to drugstores in America to be in that dinky little toy section. They are really high quality. The cabs inside look great. Lots of clear, you know, you can see everything in. They also have, you know, moving parts. There's a tailgate that opens and closes. I always really like that about these. And they're very bright and colorful, really unique looking. And I do have a few more. Forgive the dust. They've, you know, can't dust everything. This one you'll notice has the wrong tires. These are the tires off of a Matchbox Supercharger that it came with. I think, you know, when I was a kid, I remember swapping the tires on some of these things. So, you know, I totally get how that would happen. But yeah, different tires on that, but it was supposed to come with those same ones. Let's see, still digging my way through more of these. These all look exactly the same with this SUV body with the tailgate, but there are some different ones here. Oh, Monster Truck Nerd, we were just talking about you, Dave. We were just talking about the Gravedigger piston, bud. Glad to see you're here in the chat. I was just telling everyone about it. We're going over some of the collection here before Grind airs tonight. Kenny K welcoming you to the chat. All right, and this is the last of the sort of SUV looking ones. This one, I also 3D printed the same tires for that one because I just didn't feel like designing another different style. But yeah, nice to be able to take a toy that was missing parts and make it a little more complete. So, and then this one is a different mold from all those. Really unique looking, little short wheelbase Chevy square body with the American flag print over the metal. I always love that. It's so unique looking with the tinted orange windshield. It does have a broken roll cage where it's missing one spotlight, but again, that's gonna be a 3D print correction. Have you 3D printed a whole truck with just PLA? I have. Yeah, in a minute I'll be able to dig one out and show you, just because you know, I'm all squatted down here and stuck in. But I will show you. I actually have if you check it out on my Instagram, there's a story, you know, one of the story galleries at the top, that's called merch. When you open that, you can look in and see I 3D print my own toys exactly this scale that I sell, that have a little me coming out the window. And the first ones I did were entirely PLA, including the axles all the way through. Now I usually print the chassis all as PLA, and then I will do the body in resin, just because it's you know, a little higher quality. It looks a little nicer. Yeah. Dave saying Perry's dream car. That was one of the ones that I did. It looks like a Chevy convertible, hot pink, with me coming out the top shouting. So it looks a little bit like Barbie's dream car. But yeah, so that's something I'm really proud of, because selling those toys is sort of, I feel like it gives a different layer of connection with me and some of the fans, because no one else has that. And they're not just action figures, there's something different. And there's something that like is deeply important to me, because this was such a huge part of my childhood. I will say, the first time I finished one, and I did model them after the Matchbox Superchargers, and it's super clear. I know Dave has the Perry's dream car, and he can tell you it's to scale with the Matchbox Superchargers. Those were the toys I had when I was a kid. Those were the first toys that mattered to me. So when I was able to print my own, and it had me driving the truck, that was kind of an emotional thing. It was very cool. And now, of course, I've had a few different ones. I've had a truck that I was leaning out of. I have the Perry's dream car. I had a few that were different paint schemes and designs. And most recently, a slightly larger scale, I made a monster tank that has me and my tag partner coming out of it. And that one's fully painted. So yeah, something I'm pretty proud of. The last one I'll show from all these, this is another one from the Majorette series, is the only one actually modeled off of a real monster truck. This is modeled after the All-American, a monster truck. You can Google image search. There's a lot of clips of it doing the thing where it floats across a lake, you know, kind of driving on the water, because the wheels sort of work as rafts. But this is the only 1/64th scale of that toy. And they're not easy to find. This was actually sent to me by my buddy Chris, who bought and fully restored the Thunder Chicken monster truck, and now takes it around and shows it at shows. So he's one of the folks who's been kind enough to send me some really cool stuff, you know, 8x10s, those kinds of things. So shout out to Chris from Team Foul Play. But yeah, he's of course willing to part with cool toys like this, because he has the full-size Thunder Chicken monster truck. So he also, I believe, has, and I bet Dave the Monster Truck Nerd will be able to correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he has Gravedigger 3 that he's working on restoring, if I recall correctly. But yeah, this one also has, you know, you see it's got a little tow bar on the back. It's got a built-in toolbox, and then it also has the engine compartment opens up and you can look in. Again, this is a lot of detail and a lot of work and design that is going into what was basically a $2 toy at CVS. Yep, confirmed. It is Gravedigger 3. Good. I'm glad all the years of rattling my brain in the ring haven't rendered me unable to remember. But yeah, so that's the collection of my sort of off-brand. And there's definitely others, but these are the ones that I, again, would see at like CVS all the time. And these are the ones, all of these have come to me via fans who have shared them with me, either bringing them at shows or shipping them off to me, which is just so cool to have that kind of connection with fans. But I see CVS exclusive. I think they probably had them at Rite Aid and Walgreens too. CVS just happens to be what we had in my hometown, here in rural western Massachusetts. All right, so now it's going to get awkward where I scoop the table around a little on us, and I'm going to dig out a couple others because they were asked for specifically. Forgive the Zubaz shorts. They were planned to be out of screen. All right, so I do have a couple of monster trucks that I did entirely out of PLA. And I'm happy to show those. Oh yeah, there's the other one. Some of these will show up better than others. Some of them are going to be a little tough to see. All right, let's scooch back here. All right, so this was my first prototype that I did. It's a mid-90s Ford F-150 body, and you can see the chassis and everything. I actually went to the trouble of I full-on pulled out calipers and micrometers and recreated the exact chassis design and layout of the Matchbox Superchargers trucks. Again, this was an early version of this, so I designed the hubs and tires as two separate pieces, and then for an axle I actually straightened a paperclip and stuck it into both. It was a royal pain to do, and it's never quite been great. Like, it has a little trouble rolling, but it looks nice on a shelf. It looks a little bit like it looks like what I imagine a Bigfoot, like Bigfoot 7, Bigfoot 8 would have looked like if they had made it into a Matchbox Supercharger. And then this was one that was just an early on experiment when I was trying to get the proportions right. You can sort of see a lot of it's a little too tall. The body itself is very flimsy and thin because of all these open pieces, and it's actually, the body itself is hollow, which you can imagine was not easy to print with PLA. A lot of supports and careful removing. And I never quite got this one to go together the way I wanted. I was trying to print it as two separate pieces, a tire and an axle, and then a tire with a hole, so I could stick the axle through and glue it all together. It never quite worked out. Instead, I just have one where the tires don't spin. But yeah, these were all early prototypes. This is much more representative of what I wound up having when I released the first Perry monster truck. It's all black, so it's a little tough to see. It's a Chevy S10 body, and the chassis and the body are two separate pieces that I attach together. The chassis prints as one piece, complete with the axles and tires already inside the chassis. I designed it that way on purpose because I knew that when it came off, there would be a tiny bit of support material inside there, but as soon as I turned the axle, all of it would snap away. And as a result, it does roll free, and it looks exactly the way I want it to. And, you know, up next to one of these other ones, it's exactly to scale, which, you know, I'm thrilled with. And again, if I find one of these had the supercharger tires, yeah, there they are. You can see the design matches on the tires, and that's like sort of a telltale sign of that particular series. So when I eventually would design this to sell, right out of this window, there was a little Perry that hangs out the side, and I do have one of those packed in a box here, but I won't make you suffer through my digging all that out. But yeah, that was sort of the prototyping process, right? The hardest part was definitely the chassis, because you want the tires to spin. If they don't spin, it's, oh, roll on the table. Oh geez, I'm gonna have to, let me clear a little space here. I'm putting on a whole show. All right, here we go. I think you got a visual here. So this was the first test with the paperclip tires. It rolls okay, but you know, the way they wiggle back and forth, it can also jam up. This one, of course, as I said, nothing. not a big success there. The final product, though, I was very pleased with. That really, it goes back and forth exactly how you want. The only downside, as you can guess, is that if you were to push this off the table, that little axle in there definitely snaps and you lose your tires. There's just, it's not strong enough. It didn't do the trick. I have had fans at shows where, especially if they're buying for a little kid, I tell them, you know, you got to make sure they know this is meant to go on a shelf for display. They play with it. It's not a matter of if, it's not a matter of when. It is just they will break it, and it will break fast, and they will be very sad. And you paid $20 for this at the merch table, so you know, maybe don't do that. I've had them break them at shows, and usually what I do is I just take it back from the kid and I give them a fresh one, tell them to be more careful, take it home, snap them apart, and then reprint the chassis and resell it. Not a big deal, and you know, I'd much rather someone be happy with what they walk away with than save me, you know, a couple minutes of printer setup. All right, so that's everything I had for collectibles to share. So what I'm going to do right now, and you're going to come with me on it because I don't want to end the stream in the middle, I'm going to reset the camera over to the workbench because I got a little bit of 3D print stuff going on, and I want to kind of show how that's going to work. So for a minute here anyway, this is going to be a little awkward as we readjust, but we're going to get there. I believe in us. We can do this. All right, unplug you in the ring light. That's right, ring light. Big time influencer over here. All right. Get us plugged back in. Yep. Anyone prone to nausea, I apologize. All right. Bring you about right here because we're going to be working on some resin prints. All right. Excellent. Bring the computer over so that I can see the chats as they come in. Okay. So I wanted to show a few things. First of all, anyone who's been following and keeping up, I've been doing some prints for a educational nonprofit. This is a PLA print that is a vertebrae from a titanoboa. It's an extinct species of snake. And anyone who knows anything about snakes and the relative size of their spine knows that this thing is huge. It was as big around essentially as like a 50-gallon drum. And they could get as long as 60, 80 feet. So just huge. And what's great about these is if I grab another one, because they have me printing a few of them, you can actually see how they work together. Yeah, vertebrae. Of course, it's the perfect time for me to have vertebrae on the screen. I got the vertebraker himself, Kenny K, in the chat. But you can actually see how they stack to create the spine, which is so cool. You can even see the sort of slither motion they get. I didn't expect that when I was working on printing these. That was just a cool thing that happened when I was getting the supports off and had to stack them out of the way. I accidentally set one right where it was supposed to go. But yeah, I'm happy to do that again. You know, I was an educator. I was a teacher for a few years, and the fact that I can provide them with something cool like that is just awesome. But they don't just have me printing those huge ones. They have me printing a few of different sizes. These teensy little ones, and I'm going to see, yeah, you close up my Rip Bison shirt a second ago. I'm hoping this is coming in good on the screen. This is the vertebrae of a reticulated python, if I recall correctly. And it is teensy tiny, and they had me print a few of these. What's cool about this, it would appear that it's printed in blue resin, but that's not the case. See, I only needed a little bit of blue resin because this was all they needed, and that's not that much material. So I didn't want to buy an entire thing of blue resin because then I'd just be stuck with a bunch of stuff I couldn't use. So instead what I did was I actually dyed some white resin using alcohol dyes, the same kind of alcohol inks that you might draw with. It worked really well. The blue came out really nice. And from there, I'm going to have to grab these off screen here. From there, they had me doing some anaconda vertebrae, which they wanted to be a little bit more green. So I took some of that same resin just as a test, and I added some yellow and some green dye to it. And when you compare the two, you can see it worked. I have the two different colored vertebrae now. And these, you can see all kinds of very cool close-up detail on there, sort of some of the spongy parts of the bones and how they work. And this, again, just like the other one, stacks exactly the way it should so that you can make a whole spine out of them. Which is just, you know, again, I hope the kids that end up using these in the classroom can appreciate just how cool it is that I can, you know, you have essentially a snake spine there. But yeah, so I have those. I have, they needed 6. I've got the last 2 on the printer here, and then I need to clean that resin out of the printer, and I need to dye up some red resin because they need a different vertebrae printed in red. So that's what we're going to do together here because I need to get it done, and I think it's a cool thing to try out on screen. So I need some gloves because this is nasty, gnarly stuff that you do not want on your hands. All right. Yeah, so for any folks who joined late, I want to remind you again, the stream's going offline at 8 o'clock because at 8 o'clock on IWTV, Pro Wrestling Grind Emerald Sword is debuting. I'm in the opening match against A-Game Joseph Alexander, and you won't want to miss it. It's a good one. I was very pleased with that match, both as a competitor and as a performer. All right, so I'm going to peel these off of here to get them cleaned off. And if you've never done resin printing before, they come off looking very different than PLA prints. They have these sort of almost roller coaster or bridge looking structures. Those are the supports because they just need to keep it attached to the build plate every time it comes down to the LCD screen. So I'm just gonna get this off of here and down into, you have to clean them off in isopropyl alcohol. So I have this huge vat of isopropyl alcohol here. Hang this back up and out of the way. Because again, you don't want to drip this resin anywhere other than where it's supposed to be. But I'm going to get all of these supports off of here. And these come off so much easier than PLA supports, I got to tell you. It's literally just, and I'm going to bring it closer so you can see, literally just peel, and they all kind of let go. You sometimes get a couple little stragglers, but you can just pop them right off. And that's that. I didn't need any tools for that. Just pulled it away. Chuck it into my empty protein container. Give it a quick rinse. Do the same on this one, and we'll have the machine ready to start getting cleaned off because we want to thoroughly clean everything out of that machine before we go to dye any more resin to put in there. All right, looking good. There's my paper towels here because I'm going to go through a few of these. All right. Okay, so first, need to clean off the build plate up here because when I go to take this vat off, I don't want any resin on there that could drip out and go somewhere else. Bring my container. This is sort of my trash container. And I'm not going to do a super good job of cleaning this because I don't mind if there's a little bit of the green resin left in there. Just because it's really only going to mix in the first couple layers of the print. So not a big deal. You know, you won't even really see it in the finished product. All right, so that is clean. And now comes the much messier, much more disgusting part. Let's see, pull this off of here. Yeah, there we go. That's what I need. Got a little paper filter going into a funnel. And then that whole thing is going to go into one of these that's empty. Let's see, which one's emptiest? I guess this one. And I'm going to have to relabel this as gross, disgusting, weird teal resin so I don't get it mixed up with any others. Get this out of the way. All right. Take this vat off of here. We're just going to scrape down all of that resin. And there's not that much left. I did a pretty good job of guessing how much I would need. And we're just going to let it filter in. And again, if you've never worked with a resin printer, this is where you can sort of see how it works. I have this clear bottom print vat. And every time the build plate comes down, the LCD screen lights up at 4K resolution and shoots UV light at the resin and cures just the parts that you want to cure. And as a result, you end up with incredibly detailed prints. And because every single blip of light is one layer of your print, it is so much faster than PLA, where you have to draw every little detail of every layer. This one just flashes the light and boom, that's one whole layer done. Really, really incredible, especially if, like me, you were used to working with PLA and then you got a resin printer. It's a world of difference and just a very cool adjustment to make. Kenny K, if you're still in the chat, I saw a few minutes ago you said that you were going to start 3D printing merch for shows. What were you thinking of making if you're still here? I'm interested to know. I mean, obviously action figures are cool, and I don't want to give anything away, but I do have some stuff like that in the works. All right, that's looking pretty good. All right, get rid of that. Put this back here. And now we're going to get to dyeing some resin. So I do have a brand new thing of white here somewhere. I'm going to let this continue to drain away from my respirator. There we go. All right, one of these. Yeah, this is the one that's full and brand new. All right, so I actually have a clear bottle. This is from like a dollar store soda or something. And this is how I wanted to mix this resin, because I wanted to make sure that we could see it as it happened, you know? So take just a little funnel here. And I'm not going to need a ton of this stuff. So, yeah, brand new thing of resin, not even open. What a life of luxury I lead. Jeez. Every time I think I'm through, there's one more layer to go. All right. All right. So yeah, you know, I've been mentioning the grind stream tonight. I should probably mention that this Saturday, down in Connecticut, the town escapes me at the moment. I will be wrestling for Tetsu Pro. Very excited. This will be my first time there. First time wrestling in a 6-sided ring. Something I've, you know, wanted to knock off the list since college when I was watching early TNA. And yeah, I get to do it, and glad I get a chance to do it before I leave for Japan. Just cool to get that off the list early on here. All right, so we're gonna pour some of this in here. Again, it's not gonna take much, but you also don't want to underfill the whole reservoir for the printer. And this stuff does pour slow because it is a thick and viscous material. A viscous material, not to be confused with vicious material. I am vicious. All right. Okay. There goes that. And now I have to grab. These are my alcohol inks. Not sponsored, so this is just what was most highly recommended. And let's see, we're just going to go straight ahead red here. And they have this cool little thing here that when you poke it down, it punctures a hole in the top. Yeah, there we go. And the ink does just come out in little bitty droplets, so I can get rid of this because I feel like that's as drained as that's going to get. And now I get to add a few drops in here, and we'll see how it does. Might have to add more after. All right. That feels like a pretty good start. I know it's a very white resin, so it's probably going to be a little pink, and I'm going to have to add some more of this. But you know, want to start aiming low and see how we have to change it after. Now, the one thing I did learn the other day doing this is this takes a lot of shaking, and you can't always tell from the outside what's going on in there. But yeah, I hope you're all planning to tune in to Pro Wrestling Grind here in about 15 minutes. I actually will be running the Pro Wrestling Grind Twitter tonight during the event, so hopefully I can keep up with that. I should be tweeting right now from their account to let everyone know to watch, but I'm here, so you know, we'll see. Delmy and Rip will be mad at me. All right, let's take a look and see what that's doing. I bet it's pretty pink at the moment. Yeah, it's looking like a pretty light pink right now. kind of like a strawberry milk. It kind of has this look right now. So we're going to add a fair bit more of this and hope that it's enough to get that deep red that we're looking for. All right, that's a lot. So see what that does. All right, let's see how we're looking now. Oh yeah, that's getting there now. Now we got sort of a deep, what I would describe as being a little bit darker than Pepto-Bismol. I'm gonna check and see if there's any other dye colors here that I think might give us, ooh, we got one called Scarlet. Yeah, we'll throw a little of that in there, see what happens. Why not? You know, I'm nothing if not a risk taker. That's not true. I've been called a lot of things. Risk taker, not really one of them. All right, there we go. And, oh, that does look good. All right, let's mix that in, and I think that's going to do it. And we're going to be ready to pour this out into the tank here. I always want to make sure I have that cap on nice and solid, because the last thing I want is not just a bunch of resin everywhere, but a bunch of alcohol dye all over everything. Anyone who was on the stream a few weeks back knows I've had a few red spills all over this place. I don't need it again. This is a motion I've gotten very good at with all of my protein shakes and pre-workouts. Just making sure everything's mixed in here. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's going to have to do it. That's going to look pretty good. All right. Okay. So I'm going to pour it on. I don't know how well it can be seen on camera there, but it's looking pretty pink in there. Pretty pink, pretty red, and I am happy with that. So I'm going to pour it in here. And it will have a lot of bubbles in it. Now, if this was casting resin, that would be a huge problem. But because of the way this machine works, every time that bed comes down, it compresses bubbles right out of the mix. So they don't really interfere, which is, you know, a huge advantage over casting resin. I do have casting resin here, and at some point, you know, I'm sure I'll have a design that's tricky to 3D print or something like that, and I'm going to end up having to just sculpt and make a mold, which of course is what I did for the anyone who's seen my entrance vest with MAD, Mutually Assured Destruction, the big dinosaur-like, dragon-like spikes that are on there. I sculpted those out of clay, and then I made a silicone mold and cast them in resin. All right, turn the machine on here, and as soon as it's collected itself, I'm going to set this printer running. Very excited to see how this one turns out, because it's the last of the vertebrae that I haven't tried. All right, almost there. That's the blue one. All right, where is it? I'm sure this is enthralling. Everyone loves watching someone hit buttons on a machine. But yeah, we're gonna be wrapping up the stream here in just a couple of minutes, and heading on over to watch Pro Wrestling Grind on IWTV. That's where you can see me tonight. And this weekend, you're gonna see me at Tetsu Pro in Connecticut, wrestling in a 6-sided ring, and that's gonna be very cool. And if you're looking to see, there it is. If you're looking to see Iron Rip Bison this weekend, you can catch him in Canada, up in the Great White North. He'll be wrestling at Kaizen for our buddy Covey Christ and his whole crew. He'll be up there with ZPB's going up and wrestling there as well. I will be with Delmi Exo, and we will be wrestling at Tetsu Pro. All right, you're going to come with me here as we hop on over to some of my other machines. This is my ultrasonic cleaner, and that's part of getting all the uncured resin off of these, is putting it in here. This is filled with isopropyl alcohol, and when I hit this button and it goes, you hear it turn on there, it's actually hitting all of that alcohol with ultrasonic vibrations, and it's just cleaning everything off like as fast as it can, which is very cool. Not a terribly expensive piece. It is a little small, so if I print big things, I can't put them in there. But, you know, it does the job really well, and most of what I'm printing on resin is kind of smaller anyhow. And as soon as that's done, we're going to pop it in here into the UV curing box, where it has a strip of UV LEDs in the back and this little turntable, and it's going to evenly cure it. So cool to have these little machines that just more or less do my bidding for me. But yeah, I hope you had a good time with me on this stream. We did a little unboxing. We checked out some toys. We did a little 3D printing. Very excited to have all of this going on. I got more cool stuff coming in the future for more streams. But in the meantime, I'm going to call this the stream. I'm going to say bye. We're going to all head over to IWTV. We are just 8 minutes away. You will want to tune in to Pro Wrestling Grind on IWTV. Catch me in the opening match as I take on A-Game Joseph Alexander. And then watch the rest of the show. Watch Rip Bison and Delmi Exo main event. You're going to see Ava Everett and Becca do battle for the WXW Women's Championship. It's a great show. Everyone there had a blast. You're going to have a blast watching it. So I'm going to let you go. Take off. Tune into IWTV. Come see me at a show. Come buy a shirt. Come buy a toy when I have them back in stock. And until next time, take care.